be nice since my finger is now on it.
Clerk, call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here, and I understand that I have a microphone that works again.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah,
Sounds like it.
so I will be
Good.
careful what I'm whispering up here today.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Elder David Bell from the First St. John's Missionary Baptist Church in Fort Worth. After the invocation, please remain standing for the pledges.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you again for this awesome time and opportunity you've given us to make a difference in the lives of people. I thank you, God, for these men and women who have given themselves to public service. I pray, God, that you would bless them in all that they seek you for, and I ask, God, that you would bless them indeed. I pray, Father, for this court proceedings and these men and women who have the awesome task of making decisions and challenges that will be a blessing to the hearts and minds of people. I pray, God, that they would seek your wisdom and seek your guidance and keep them in your care. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Elder Bell, thank you very much for coming here today.
Judge, could I just say something for a moment?
Sure.
I just want everybody to know that my son is back from his 4th tour in Iraq. And I'll get to see him in about 2 weeks, so I'm excited about that.
That's great. That is fantastic. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 3 announcements for the court this morning. The first one is under the Administrator section, item 9A9. This relates to the out-of-state travel request. There's a revised court communication in your red folder. The only change is correct accounting code on one of the travel items. Also, members of the court, under the tax assessor collector, item 9K3, we're going to ask that that particular item be held for 1 week, or for 2 weeks, actually. Then finally, members of the court, I'd like to make sure everyone realizes that we are not going to have court next week, the 27th. Our next court will be June 3rd. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regularly scheduled meeting of May the 13th.
Make a motion we approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. The motion will pass unanimously. Under proclamations and resolutions, we have several today. Our first are some certificates of appreciation for the employee recognition employee appreciation days that we had, the rainy day that we had a little bit earlier this month. And we have 3, I believe, Margie Thomas, Leisure Foods, I believe that one, she wasn't able to make it. I think that's for ratification only. And so I'll move approval of that particular certificate.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. The second is a certificate of appreciation to Mid-America Services, and I believe Tony Shanklin is here. Yes, sir. Come on forward, Tony. And I'll go ahead and read this into the record. Certificate of appreciation presented to Mid-America Services, Inc., May 2008. The Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, on behalf of all employees of Tarrant County, does hereby commend Mid-America Services, Inc. for their generous show of support in hosting Tarrant County's 20th Annual Employee Appreciation Day. I will move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. The motion passes unanimously. Tony, come on up and let me. Give you an opportunity to make any comments that you'd like to make.
On behalf of Bob Austin and the company, we just appreciate doing business with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank Bob.
Next is a certificate of appreciation to the Tarrant County Credit Union. I see Lily back there. Come on down. And again, I'll read that in, well, it says the same thing the last one says, except it says Tarrant County Credit Union in there. And I'll move its approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second approval. Please vote. The motion passes unanimously. We very much appreciate everything that the credit union does in so many different ways for our employees. And take a few minutes and make any comments that you'd like to make.
You know me, I have an opportunity, so I'll talk, but I'll make it brief. Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Really appreciate this certificate. We thoroughly, we're very, very pleased to be able to sponsor this event. It gives us an opportunity to not only thank, but to also show our appreciation to the employees of Tarrant County. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank this court for its continued support and for considering your credit union as part of the Tarrant County family. We look forward to another successful year of serving the employees of Tarrant County. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we really can't do this without, I think, thanking Commissioner Johnson, because Commissioner Johnson, I believe it was you and Tim Curry that kicked this thing off about 20 years ago, and I know you've been very active in past years and continue to be in that particular regard. So,
My pleasure. Thank you.
next we have a proclamation for Memorial Day. Commissioner Brooks.
This proclamation will be presented on Memorial Day at Mount Olivet Cemetery at their annual ceremonies. It's a commemoration of those who have lost their lives in this nation's wars. We would all do well to remember them on that day. I move approval, move ratification
Second.
of the proclamation.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And Commissioner Fickus, I believe you have a resolution.
Yes, the Gertrude Tarpley Community Health Center. This is a facility that will be opening in June in Watauga, and this will be our second healthcare facility in northeast Tarrant County. Gertrude Tarpley was a leader in the Haltom-Richland Chamber of Commerce back in the 60s, early 60s. Eventually that became the Northeast Chamber of Commerce. She guided that organization for about 25 years, was a true asset to northeast Tarrant County, and we're honoring her by naming that facility after her. So, Ms. Tarpley passed away in 1994, I believe.
Okay, and that's fine. You're moving its approval?
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And before you, the consent agenda, removing item 9K3.
Move approval of the consent agenda, save and accept item 9K3.
Second.
There a motion?
And the revised out-of-state travel.
Yeah, that's a good point. And
What he said.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, on item number 1, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve a contract award between Tarrant County Hospital District, Conrail Support Group, LLP, in the amount of $1,489,254 with a total project of cost of that particular item of $2,681,177. This is to complete the renovations for the relocation of the Rosedale Central Fill Pharmacy to JPF Health Center at Vital Pitts, Como. I will say that the hospital district has requested also that we approve an award, a pending award as relates to the paving. We're not going to ask you to do that. We're going to ask that they bring that contract back to the court also for approval.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 2, we're asking for the Commissioners Court to approve and concur of actions of the Hospital District Board of Managers and approve a construction contract award between the district and Hutcherson Construction in the amount of $962,300. This concerns the completion of construction of the Patient Care Pavilion frontage and the green space, which is located in Main and St. Joe's Court on the northeast corner of Main Street and Allen Avenue.
Move approval
Second?
with a question.
You have a motion and a second. And a question?
Did y'all consider some public art for that green space?
We would certainly
Come on up
consider
here.
that, Commissioner. The project at this time is to clean that entire corner up. You know, we've moved the body shop out. Our construction shops will all go away. The area has been rezoned for future construction. 20 years from now, if the district needs to do something there. In the meantime, our proposal creates a green space with arbors, walking paths for patients and doctors and staff, and basically a green belt, buries utilities underground, and we certainly would be open to suggestions regarding art.
It seems to cry out for public art.
Be glad
We
to
don't
take
put
your
it there,
guidance.
somebody else will put it there for us, and it'll be
We'd be happy
not
to
be the
take your
kind of public
guidance.
art we want. Any other questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Can I ask a question? Have y'all done public art before, Ron? Have you done public art before in different locations?
Commissioner, we have not, to my knowledge, as at any of our projects, done any public art. The only piece I know of is at our Azle Clinic. There's a giant armadillo in the lobby that was placed there
Got
many
a
years
beer
ago.
can or anything,
But
You have
it's,
something.
brass or something, that's a piece of artwork, but I don't know of any other at this point.
Giant armadillo.
Well, now is a
What
good
does
time
he
to
symbolize?
start.
I'm unclear on that. It was placed there at the time the center was built many years ago. So children like it a lot.
Well, I agree with Commissioner Brooks. I think public art has got a place, and I think it's a place people like to be near. It's still, I think, a lot of enthusiasm in your employee base to improve the open spaces that you have. At some point, you might think about putting together a committee to look at what your open spaces are around in all your facilities. It's just something to think about, and
This space would certainly lend itself
Yeah.
to that with the trees and the arbors and the walking paths. So we'd be happy to take any advice.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
Perhaps we can talk.
We will.
Thank you.
We voted, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Item number 3.
Members of the court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the court approve an order with respect to Waste Management, Inc. and its subsidiaries project, which authorizes the county judge to execute a certificate approving the local portion of the tax-exempt industrial bonds financing for Waste Management and its subsidiaries project through the Mission Economic Development Corporation, designating a hearing officer for the public hearing, authorizing the county judge to execute the certificate approving the public hearing. 2 comments. First of all, the hub letter is attached to this document. Second of all, we have asked the question concerning land use on land that is associated with this, and we've been assured by Waste Management that there are no deed restrictions that would not allow for any governmental or health functions.
Let me ask you a question, G.K.
Yes, sir.
We keep getting these requests from bodies located outside of Tarrant County.
Yes, sir.
We've got an Industrial Development Commission. How do we entice some of this business to our corporation?
Well, the one thing that on these type of bonds, the total amount of these bonds are about $254 million. And only about $15 million of those are actually going to be spent in Tarrant County. So the purpose of this is simply to meet the requirements of the IRS code. I will tell you that
I understand all of that.
I will tell you though that our educational and health and educational facilities corporation does the same exact thing, where they will issue bonds approved by this court that will be spent outside of Tarrant County also. And whenever they make those expenditures in other counties, we had one probably 6 months to a year ago where a large portion of the monies were going to actually be spent over in Dallas County and a couple other counties. And so there is a give and take and on all of these. And on this particular one, it was the Mission Valley has been issuing debt for waste management for a while. So this is just I would say a formality and an authorization to meet the IRS code. We do this with our educational and health facilities corp the same way that they do this.
Well, we've done several of these in recent weeks and months for this very same corporation, Mission Valley. Apparently, they do a good job of promoting their entity. We apparently do not. And I would like to see us at least let developers and others know that we have such an entity, that it's available to do this kind of business.
I have been told that we have done that and that there was a good utilization in times past, but that for
When we were promoting it.
well, for whatever reason, the guidelines don't fit as well with what people are looking for.
Let me do two things, okay? First of all, I will express the court's opinion or views to Harold Brown, who is the secretary and legal counsel for our organization. Second of all, let me go ahead and get the court a report as to how many that our group has done over the last 12 months, because we've brought probably, my recollection, maybe 3 or 4 here in the last 12 months. Let me get those numbers for you, and then we'll have this discussion again.
Get those numbers and get the numbers for all others.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, and members of the court, on item number 4, we're recommending that the Commissioners Court approve the appointment of Mamie Glover as the Assistant Veteran County Service Officer for Tarrant County Veteran Services. She meets the statutory requirements. One of the positives about this is that, first of all, the Commissioners Court has the authority to make an appointment such as this. Also, we try to provide training for our employees, and with her designation in this position, the state Veteran Services will pay for that training.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This is the recommendation of the Veteran Services Director.
Absolutely.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's heck when people don't recognize where your seats are, isn't it, Mr. Smith? It's kind of like church. Ms. Tidwell.
This morning, we're asking that the court receive and file the auditor's report on the tax office general ad valorem bank account reconciliation. The report points out that there's a number of staffing issues in the tax office. They've been short of personnel and continue to be short of staff, but the last reconciliation provided to the auditor's office was December. I know they've worked on January and have it almost reconciled. In light of some of our other concerns in the area, we wanted to make sure, though, that we brought this forward as a concern We feel like we need to have a plan to improve the process. We've done a lot of other automation and electronic initiatives in the tax office which complicate the bank rec. The bank rec is, for the most part, historically has been a very manual process. I would mention to the court that probably in the budget session, I think Ms. Price will be asking for some additional resources to look into changing the process and automating the process, and we would support those efforts and would support any additional personnel in the interim that the tax office might need to try to get the bank accounts reconciled.
Do I have a motion?
Move to receive and file the tax office general ad valorem bank account reconciliation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Tidwell. Mr. Rack? Whoops. Mr. Collins? Okay. Ms. Glenn?
Good
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you for the walk.
Tina.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have one item for the court's review this morning. We're requesting approval of professional services contract with Crystal Training. This will allow our staff and IT to do a little bit better reporting on the systems we use.
Move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Steve. Mr. Beecham?
Morning. Your Honor, other members of the court, we have only 3 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-097. This is a contract for Stratus Maintenance, which is server maintenance. Recommendation will be toward the Stratus Industries Ireland Limited, amount of $25,176.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 2 is also a bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-079. This is contract for various concrete work. Recommendation will be toward reliable paving on a per unit price basis.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
We haven't had real good experience with this firm, yet we keep re-upping with them.
This particular time, and I thought that this might be a question, we contacted 133 vendors. We had a pre-bid conference, which was attended by a total of 5 vendors. We contacted each of the 4 vendors that did not choose to respond, and the reasons for their lack of response was one gentleman was out of town 2 days longer than he anticipated. He did not turn his bid in. Zamora Construction is doing a lot of work with the City of Fort Worth. Didn't want a hit-and-miss type contract, which is what this is. Alcala Construction said they didn't have enough time to complete and submit the bid documentation.
Would it be
What kind
feasible?
of concrete work did you have a problem with?
I have a problem with their pricing. I have a problem with them showing up when they say they're going to show up. I have a problem with the quality of their work.
Would it be feasible to change the bid in some way and give these people more time? Or was that just a comment made to you that you don't believe was valid?
I believe what they told us. I feel like we gave them plenty of time to submit their documentation. This has been a bid over the years that we've not had a lot of participation in, and it's really kind of surprising for $250,000 worth of miscellaneous work. You think people would be coming out of the woodworks, but they're just not. The other thing I'd like to say is there's so much construction work in this area. It's sometimes difficult to find people that do want to work, do do the work for us. We've not received any documentation. I remember a couple of your problems specifically, but we've not received any written documentation to show reason to not allow Reliable the opportunity to rebid with us or to be awarded this particular bid.
Had you asked for written documentation, it would have been forthcoming. We had those discussions. You knew of my dissatisfaction. If you needed it in writing, you should have asked me for that.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 4-1.
Item 3 is an item in regards to RFP number 2007-122. This is for the Public Health Department WIC program space remodel and clinic renovation. We are seeking contract approval from the court as well as acceptance of the bonds this morning.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Lamb.
I'm here today to request that Commissioners Court approve a resolution and order authorizing the conveyance of a permanent sanitary sewer easement containing 5,055 square feet and a temporary construction easement containing 1,882 square feet. This property is located south of the Union Pacific Railroad near Pioneer Parkway at Rosedale. The conveyance is to the City of Fort Worth for sewer improvements.
Move for approval.
Second.
Whatever.
Pick one.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. My second item today is a request that Commissioners Court approve a resolution in order decreeing public necessity for a public project known as Ann Lane North. It's to approve the preliminary plans and authorize the acquisition and payment of compensation for right-of-way along this road.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Could I see you right after court, please?
Yes, sir.
Any appointments today? There being none, we'll move on to the claims, including the addendum. I'm assuming including the addendum.
Yes.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Updates or briefing?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have one item we'd like to bring to the court this morning. This is an update on the facility space master plan for the administration building and the Plaza building. Mr. Phillips is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning. In February of this year, Facilities Management presented a multi-year capital plan to Commissioners Court regarding the funding requirements for new buildings, building renovations, and building maintenance, large building maintenance items. One of those items was a $20 million renovation for the administration building. During that presentation, Commissioners Court asked staff to go back and revisit the administration building project to see if we could reduce the cost and to see if there's a way to, for the tax office to remain in the building while the others, and provide the proper space for the other departments. In March of this year, Commissioners Court approved a contract with Elements of Architecture to provide validation of the space program requirements of the departments and also provide architectural services regarding blocking and stacking diagrams to see how all the departments would fit in the building. Since that time, we've interviewed 11 departments and revised their planning requirements and updated their space programs. For the most part, all the departments were able to reduce their space requirements through sharing of conference rooms, break rooms, and reduction of office sizes. We took those revised, reduced space programs, gave them to the architects, and asked them to block and stack those in the administration building to see how we could fit the departments in there. And what we discovered is the departments, with the tax office remaining in the building, the departments will not, all the departments will not fit in the building. So we backed up a little bit and removed facilities management and community development, which were planned last year to put in this building. We removed them from the equation and took another look at it to see if we could possibly fit the departments in the building.
And put them where?
Leave them where they're at. And to see if the departments are essentially in here now, if we had room for them to provide the proper right sizing and growth space for this exercise. And even with removing facilities management and community development and leaving the tax office in the building, we were going to have to reduce the already reduced space requirements for the departments. So the bottom line is facilities management does not recommend a full building renovation to make all these changes. The benefits are outweighed by the costs. Now, we did ask the architects, and facilities management went back and met with some of the departments, and we do have a reduced scope, a reduction renovation where the benefits do meet the actual cost, and that is a reduced plan where we would totally renovate the fourth and fifth floors, and then just provide minor renovations on the lower floors through the next few years. This would take care of some immediate space needs that the auditors have. Currently have they have 55 employees, but it's about 136 square feet per employee, which is about half what it needs to be. They're on top of each other. I think we need to right size their space and to provide them a little bit of growth space for the upcoming years. Also, this partial renovation of the renovation of the fifth floor would allow the county administrator's office to right size his space and also provide the proper space for the planned emergency operations center. Now, what I have here is a stacking diagram and a budget for this reduced renovation.
Is not the original plan still on the table?
The original plan has not actually been voted on. It was presented in June of last year.
It's still possible.
Yes, sir.
I think as we looked at the building, and we looked at it in terms of the tax office desiring to stay in this building, the auditor is really just they're basically packed in like sardines. And so the alternatives were for either us to abandon this floor, us being the court, and giving this floor over to the auditor, or the auditor and the administrator's office switching places 4 and 5, because on the fourth floor you also had the information technology folks who had been on that floor. And I think you'll see this from what Mr. Phillips just handed out. But that will allow the auditor's office to be able to expand and to not feel like they're sitting on top of one another.
Over the years, Mr. Brooks, what we've done with this building as the need arises, we've had to move departments out of the building, and that would be IT and facilities management. I suspect this plan, this reduced scaled-down plan, would provide enough space for the next several years, and certainly on the fourth and fifth floors, but also on the first and second floors and third floors. Now, at the point in time when it doesn't, we would probably have to come back and do an analysis and figure out which departments would possibly move out of the building, and that probably would be a department that's on the third floor, or possibly the fourth floor. That would be transportation or HR or something like that. We essentially would see what the affinity is, figure out who the anchor tenant is, and see who attaches best to that anchor tenant. And if that anchor tenant is Commissioner's Court, maybe best associated with that is the county administrator, the auditor, possibly purchasing, and court would need to make a decision on which one stays and which one goes. But right now, if the tax office is going to stay in the building, I don't recommend that we try to tighten and fit all the other departments in here. It's just not a good use of our money.
What is happening with the space that we had originally planned to move the tax office into?
Commissioner, nothing's happening with it now. I've asked the architect, we do have a contract with Jacobs Carter Burgess to design that space. They have not moved forward with that portion of the contract at our request. There is a request on the table from the credit union. Should the tax office should the court decide that the tax office will stay in this building, the tax office does not move the Plaza building, the credit union would like the opportunity to go from the 6th floor, which the court has assigned the credit union the 6th floor of the Plaza building, is to allow them to move down to the 2nd and 3rd floors of the Plaza building to be closer to their customers and have express lanes for tellers and such right off of the parking lot.
So,
My problem is that I would like all of the county major departments located on the downtown campus. I'd like to be able to move community development down here with everybody else.
Commissioner, we could do that, but they wouldn't be able to, with this plan, they wouldn't be able to do it in this building. We can move them to the Plaza.
It doesn't have to be in this building. It can be in the Plaza building. It can be someplace on the downtown campus.
We would have room. On the 3rd floor is about 35,000 square feet or so. Even if we move the credit union's 3,000 square feet up there, that leaves ample space for expansion and to move departments in, including facilities management. And I believe community development is only 5,000 or 6,000 square feet, so it would be just take a little area up on the 3rd floor.
So we could take that space that was originally planned for the tax office in the Plaza building and accommodate these other departments that we had intended to move into this building had the tax office moved out.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Brooks, as it relates to CDBG, our goal is to bring them down to the downtown campus. The reason that we didn't do it at this point was because with the tax office staying in this building, there just wasn't enough room here. Eventually, we will get them down here. It's a cash flow issue for us also, and and we were looking at the Plaza to put them in. So our goal, and it's not really a long-term goal, but it's a cash flow goal to get CD downtown.
I did provide a budget of approximately $11 million for the renovation of this building. That includes a lot of upfront costs regarding relocation of moving those folks from the 4th and 5th floors temporarily for swing space while we renovate the building. It includes about $750,000 to $800,000 for an emergency operations center, emergency generator, and air conditioning, and those kind of switch gears and those kind of things that are associated with operating an emergency operations center when the power's out. So it does include some of those things. What it doesn't include is any funds required to relocate the IT mirror system. Currently, IT has about 2,200 square feet on the right below us that has a lot of data storage units in there that mirror what they have in the Plaza building. And we would need to relocate those before we start doing any renovation on the 4th floor. We're still looking at options of what to do with that, and IT is working hard to figure out the best option and bring something back to the court on that. So I don't have a cost on that.
So basically what we're talking about renovations 4th, 5th floor, complete renovations. Minor renovations probably to the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. Credit union would stay where they are on the 2nd floor right now.
And reduce. Yeah, once they move some of their managers to the Plaza building, they'll actually take about half the space.
So they would reduce and probably have just mostly teller-only spaces here in this building. They would move to the Plaza building. They would have their their teller, whatever we call it, express lanes. Easy. On the 2nd floor. They would have their general offices on the 3rd floor. Yes. We go from about a budget or an estimated expenditures of about $26 million down to about $11 million. Plus probably a little bit.
11 to 13, figuring out 11 to 13 right now.
And that would begin when and end when?
We have funding now to engage the architects, and we have advertised for RFQ for architectural and construction management services, and those are ready to go. We need to present something back to the court on that, on a recommendation to negotiate. I would suspect it would take 6 months or so for design, a couple of months for plan review, and then we would need to bid that. We would need to put some money in the fiscal year '09 budget for the actual renovation of this building. So we need to put, now actually we do have $4.2 million available that was appropriated in this year's budget for the tax office, so that's available to transfer over here if you decide not to use it over there for something.
Will there be a need for swing space for some departments?
Yes, sir. We will try to, there's various ways to do it, is to go ahead and move both floors out at the same time. I'm leaning toward recommending we just move the auditor once instead of twice. They are essentially the bloodline of our energy around here, and they handle the cash. And I like just to move them once. But probably we could possibly use the education center. It has about 20,000 square feet. We could move a department or two down there for a few months, and we would probably need to hold Commissioners Court in the Family Law Center assembly room, set up that proper staging and AV systems to accommodate the court, and for those several months, and move the county judge somewhere.
Or double wide out on the front.
Double wide. Old jail somewhere.
I've been in a double wide. I'd rather double wide. I've been in a double wide before.
So yes, we did include money for, there will be some improvements necessary for the swing space, for data, and overall minimal creature comforts.
Did our space shrink?
No, you didn't. Your space didn't shrink.
I just grew his some way.
It didn't shrink. Well, we could probably, I might be able to give you this. You want that little conference room back there?
What I'd like to do, if it's okay, is to come back to you with the court approved the assignment of the third floor plaza building of the tax office in 2005. We'll need to rescind that court order and move them back in here if that's what the court desires. At the same time, I can come back to you with a drawing, proposed sketch of the third floor that could outline the credit union and the community development and possibly facilities management and other unassigned space for the third floor, and kind of have it planned out for you over there.
Well, I hope that whatever we go forward with this time, we're going to pretty well stick to. I'm like Commissioner Brooks. I would like to have gotten everything into this, not only in the downtown area. I would have liked to have gotten our departments into this building, but I understand the tax office's desire to try to stay in this building. So, at some point that, we're just going to have to look and see. But certainly right now, it makes sense that if the tax office is going to stay in here, that we don't totally renovate and spend that kind of money on this building, because it's not going to meet any expansion needs whatsoever for any of the other departments. Not for sure whether they would grow, but certainly it wouldn't meet that if we were to decide to do something like that.
There's two different colors of green, but all of this would be the auditor, is that correct?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, you're not asking for any action. You're going to come back to us.
We're going to come. We'd like to come back to you on the 3rd with recommendations for your approval.
Okay.
Well, show us what the other 3 floors looked like at that time, too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
Anything else, court members, for Charles?
I wanted to have my say on something that is not on the agenda, so consider this an audience participation. And if I need to fill out a form, I'll do that. There was an article in this morning's Star-Telegram which talked about Chesapeake's pledge of $1.125 million for minority scholarships in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, money that they pledged as a result of being successful in leasing the mineral interests at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, Fort Worth Dallas International Airport. Apparently, this pledge has been on the table for almost a year, and we're down to 2 or 3 weeks to raise the bulk of the money to claim those dollars. I think that's a shame for this community, that first of all, nobody knew about that pledge. Second of all, nobody stepped up to handle it. I congratulate and thank Bob Spence of Friesen Nichols for having done so. And I additionally thank the people who have contributed the almost $300,000 that is currently on hand. But that leaves a tremendous gap for this community. We spend an awful lot of time and an awful lot of money as a community planning on what to do with the homeless, planning on what to do with ex-offenders, planning on what to do with gang activity, planning on what to do with teenage pregnancy and infant mortality. People, don't you understand that education is the key? It's cheaper to address these issues on the front end by providing education and opportunity for our young people than to address it on the back end as incarceration and homeless shelters. We as a community are better than this. We need to pull together in the next 2 weeks, the 2 weeks that's left until June 1st, which is the drop dead date, and raise this money. I got on the phone this morning and raised $10,000 myself. I pledged $5,000 and my brother pledged $5,000. If we would all do our share, we could come up with this money in short order. And if we don't, shame on us.
I was surprised to read that also, so we need to, I think that is something that I hope we can do a lot toward.
Well, I hope that we never have to find out something of such a significant magnitude of importance to our community by reading the newspaper.
Anything else at this time? The Commissioners' Court will now recess the open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under Sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
Your Honor and members of the court, under item E1 and 2, under the district attorney, we are requesting that the court retain the law firm of Kelly Hart and Hallman to represent District Clerk Tom Wilder in his individual and official capacities, and that the amount in both cases should not exceed a combined total of $50,000.
And, Your Honor, as part of that motion, that $50,000 should come from the district clerk's professional liability fund. That fund number is 62200.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 4-1. Thank you. There being no other
Thank you, Your
business, we're adjourned.